Here's a fascinating question. How do you break a character and build them back up to become a better person? I suppose you could just thrust them into a bad situation and devise ways for them to defy the odds, and that can work for many stories. But then there are a few that demand something a little different. Movies like Silence of the Lambs, Full Metal Jacket, Castaway, or The Martian. These films are particularly interesting because they all relied heavily on the works of two prominent figures who fundamentally shaped the field of psychology and influenced a generation of writers throughout the 20th century. I'm talking about B.F. Skinner and Abraham Maslow. While it's true that our understanding of human behavior advanced tremendously since these two were around, both of them still have a wealth of information to offer writers who aren't familiar with their main theories. And for those who are, well, it's always nice to get a refresher from what the OGs had to say. Welcome back to another episode of Story Prism. We're indie filmmakers who recently went off the beaten path after working in the industry for well over a decade. Now we're interested in building tools to help others like us create their stories while exploring deep questions about the craft of writing, filmmaking, and everything related to storytelling. This is part 2 from Freud to Film, where we explore the intersection between psychology and cinema to show writers how these ideas can be seamlessly woven into stories to make them stand out. Last time, we covered Sigmund Freud's psychoanalytic theory of mind and compared it to Carl Jung's collective unconscious and human archetypes. Today, we're going to cover Skinner's operant conditioning and Maslow's hierarchy of needs to show how writers can utilize these theories to get their characters to influence themselves and other characters within their stories. If this is the kind of stuff that interests you, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button so YouTube's algorithm can show you more. Now, without further ado, Skinner's theory of operant conditioning is another great psychological element that some writers have added into their wheelhouse of tricks. This theory suggests that behavior can be reinforced and altered by positive or negative reinforcement, as well as punishment. Positive reinforcement involves providing a reward to encourage a particular behavior. For example, if a child cleans their room and is then given a toy, they're being positively reinforced to clean their room. Negative reinforcement involves removing an undesirable consequence to encourage a particular behavior. So if a child cleans their room to avoid being grounded, they're being negatively reinforced to clean their room. Punishment is when you present an adverse event or outcome in order to decrease a behavior. So let's say a child is scolded every time they pick their nose. This is a form of punishment aimed at stopping them from doing it in the future. Now, how does all of this fit into movies? Well, look no further than Silence of the Lambs. In the movie, Dr. Hannibal Lecter, a serial killer and skilled manipulator, strategically provides information as a form of positive reinforcement by establishing conditions for FBI agent Clarice Starling. He demands that she share personal stories and experiences and uses the information he provides her with as a reward, which encourages her to continue opening up to him. Moreover, on the side of Starling, she uses both positive reinforcement and punishment to manipulate Lecter into assisting her. She provides him with transfer papers, positive reinforcement, to encourage his cooperation and use the withdrawal of respect and courtesy, punishment, in response to his inappropriate remarks or actions. Another powerful example can be found in the movie Full Metal Jacket, a war film directed by Stanley Kubrick. In the story, Marine recruits go through rigorous basic training under the supervision of a relentless drill sergeant who continuously uses negative reinforcement to influence the behavior of the recruits. He punishes them for undesirable behaviors, like being slow, making mistakes, or showing disrespect, which decreases the likelihood of these behaviors being repeated. And indeed, it does prove effective, as there's a noticeable change in the behavior and attitude of the recruits as the training progresses. One key example is the character Private Pyle. Initially, Pyle is clumsy, slow, and continually makes mistakes that anger the drill sergeant. However, through persistent punishments and negative reinforcement, Pyle eventually conforms to the expectations of the sergeant, becoming more disciplined, quick, and efficient. But then he goes crazy and kills the sergeant before killing himself. So this movie not only highlights the effectiveness of operant conditioning, but also the negative consequences of psychological conditioning applied relentlessly. One of the last psychological theories that every writer should know is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Developed by the 20th century American psychologist Abraham Maslow, this theory suggests that self-actualization is realized when a person prioritizes and fulfills a specific set of needs in succession of one another. The succession is the following: physiological needs. These are the most basic needs that are vital to survival, such as the need for water, air, food, and sleep. Safety needs. These needs include security and safety. Social belonging needs. After physiological and safety needs are fulfilled, the third layer of human needs is interpersonal and involves feelings of belongingness. Esteem needs. Esteem needs are the fourth layer and involve the need for respect, self-esteem, and personal growth. Self-actualization needs. This is the highest level of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Self-actualizing people are self-aware, concerned with personal growth and development, and interested in fulfilling their potential. This hierarchy is most applicable if you're writing a survival tale. For instance, in the 2000 movie Castaway starring Tom Hanks, we see the progression towards self-actualization. First, there's the main character's physiological needs. After crash landing on a deserted island, Tom Hanks' character, Chuck, needs to find food, fresh water, and build a shelter to protect himself from the elements. Concurrently, he also strives to achieve his safety needs by creating tools for hunting and making a fire to cook food, all of which ensures his ongoing safety and security. He also learns to adapt to the island's weather and natural conditions. Upon achieving these needs, Chuck then tries to fulfill his social belonging needs, as the absence of other people amplifies his desire for social interaction and belonging. This is epitomized through his creation of Wilson, a volleyball which he paints a face on and talks to as if it was a real person. As Chuck masters the environment around him, successfully learning to fish and build ever more sophisticated tools, he gains self-confidence and a sense of achievement, thus fulfilling his esteemed needs. Finally, after his basic needs are met, he's then forced by his extreme circumstances to confront the basics of human existence. Chuck ultimately finds his purpose in survival itself, realizing his will to live and his ability to face and overcome the difficulties that life presents to him. What's interesting about these particular kinds of movies is that the characters start out with everything, only to have it all taken away, forcing them to reinvent their sense of purpose. That is a hard thing to carry in stories, which is why Maslow's hierarchy of needs can be a very important psychological tool to build someone back up. It acts like a map that can not only guide your decisions, but also authenticate the moment and the characters experiencing these transformations. While these two psychological theories alone can't turn your story into gold, nor are they relevant for every film, Skinner's operant conditioning can still come in handy when facing scenarios that involve human manipulation, and Maslow's hierarchy of needs can be a solid roadmap for rebuilding your character after thrusting them into a new environment that breaks every aspect of their being down to zero. So that's it for part 2. Keep your eyes peeled for part 3, where we'll go over a very recent theoretical framework for the human mind proposed by Sean Webb, who interestingly enough isn't a trained psychologist. He's a former systems engineer who worked on supercomputers before having an out-of-body experience during meditation, where he claimed to have spoken to God, who fed this theory to him. Yeah, sounds crazy, but scholars are taking it seriously as it seems to hold water, so whatever you believe, this is certainly worth exploring, if only to make your stories better. Thanks for checking us out, and if you want to see more of this in your feed, be sure to like and subscribe. As always, best of luck in your creative endeavors.